Hi, and welcome to the Improved Garage YouTube channel. Today my goal is to kind of finish up the Mazda, or at least cleaning up the paint. So in my last video I polished this whole side. It's been about a week. So I'm going to go over this one time with just a polish. So the front fender, the door, the rear quarter panel, up along this roof line, and then the roof itself. I'm just going to kind of go over that once with a polish, clean up these pieces of trim, and put a layer of wax down. And then I'm going to try, starting to correct the hood, the bumper, and work my way that way around the car. I did also pick up some headlight restore. I'm not sure if that'll happen today or not, but it's my goal to just get through as much of this as possible. So yeah. So to start off, I'm going to be using my 5-inch polisher. I'll be using a Rupes. Actually, we'll keep using the Chemical Guys pads. I'm going to use a Chemical Guys white pad, which is a medium light polishing pad. I'm going to be using Automagic PC3, which is the final finish polish. I'm just going to start off with a couple little dots on here. And start dabbing this out. We'll see how much I get done today. It's been a long day. Washed all the other cars and everything, so it's already 5 o'clock. So that panel, the front fender is done. Just going to go over this with a towel to remove the polish. Honestly, it looks pretty good for a 15-year-old car with 200,000 miles. It's really not too bad. So that one looks good. We'll do the same thing on the driver's door. I'm going to do the driver's door in 2 passes. Do the top half first, then the bottom half. Don't really need a lot of product now that I've kind of gotten through all of this caked on crap. So I'm just putting like 3 small dots, kind of dabbing it out on here. Spread it out on a 1. And really in the last video, I did all 3 stages on this side of the car. I'm just kind of going over it with stage 3 because it's been sitting in my driveway for a week. It gets covered with dust, and I wash it. You know, so there's some fine scratches here and there. Again, it's never really going to be perfect. It's another video that I'm recording with the Osmo Action. Pretty happy with the camera so far. It did a good job in my last video. All right, so I've kind of gone through this whole side of the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab a red pad, put some wax on the car. So what I'm going to be using here is the Chemical Guys Butter Wet Wax. This stuff works fairly good. It's easy to remove. It's yellow, so it's pretty easy to see on a black car or on a white car, on a silver car. Don't know how easy it would be to see on a yellow car, but Okay. Okay, so at this point we've polished and waxed this whole side. And we do have these to worry about. So these kind of black So we have this black where there's all this gray. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to go over it with a wax remover. So this is a trim clean wax and oil remover. It's designed to remove wax that might get on your trim while you're waxing the car. Not that I think there's any wax here, but so didn't take much off. Just kind of what I expected. Kind of go over this with this. This is a tire and trim gel, which I originally bought for our BMW to deal with the trim on that. That kind of sucked pretty bad. So you can kind of see the difference there. So you can kind of see how this is black and this is pretty white. So now we're just going to do the same thing with this one. Go over it again. I don't think this one is going to end up quite as good as the driver's side did, but just get the door edge. So this is the wax and oil remover. Comes off just a little black. Really, I'm more so using that to get the polish and stuff that's up to the edge of it. Any wax that I might have got on it from waxing the door next to it. And then take this and we'll just kind of go over it. So again, it's not perfect, but it is a pretty drastic change. So okay. So got this side done. Since the hood is going to be the longest, I'm probably just going to save that for last. Start working on the back here. I know at the beginning of the video I mentioned that I was going to go that way around the car, but the deck lid is already pretty close to finished. So for this one, I've gone over it with compound already. So I'm going to start off with a do an orange pad, which is a medium heavy cutting pad. We'll start with our diminishing compound, PC2. So I'm going to go over the bumper one more time, get a clean rag. All right. So I went through the whole bumper. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad. This side is going to be pretty light because I polished all of the paint off of it originally. So again, I'm just going to do 2 and 3. So I'll continue the 2 down this side of the car. I'll go back with the 3 and get the bumper and the deck lid with the number 3 as well. All right, I'm just gonna blow out that pad a little bit. My vortex. What I'm doing here is, as my pad is drying out, I'm just giving it a shot with some polish conditioner, kind of So at this point, the pad's pretty caked with crap, so I'm just going to swap it out for another one. I have another orange. Right. Okay. So next what I'm going to do is just go over all of this with PC3 with a white pad. So I've decided to be done for the day. I did this entire side. I did stage 2 on all of this and this whole side, so I have to go over it with stage 3. And I went down this piece of trim with the trim stuff, and I just kind of want to show the difference. So if you take a look here, this is what all of the trim looked like on the roof, and that's what it looks like with the dried, like this is completely dry trim coating on it. So I just did like a drop here so you can kind of see what it looks like when it spreads out. It's a pretty drastic difference. So I think that stuff is pretty good. That's the trim gel. Honestly, the VRP works the same. Again, chemical guys with all the same products, but they have this VRP vinyl rubber plastic protectant, which I use that on this side, and that looks, it honestly looks the same. And then on the other side, I used the, I'm in trouble finding the bottle. Oh, there it is. Chemical Guys Tire and Trim Gel, Plastic and Trim Restorer. So that's what I did on this side. I think that it does a great job. So the difference is pretty drastic. So that's it. I'm gonna call it a night. I'll come out here tomorrow and do number 3 down this side. And then I'll do the front bumper and the hood and the lights, I don't know, another day. Alright, so I'm back working on the Mazda. And at this point I've done 2 and 3 all the way to the front of the door. I went over some of the trim, like this trim and this trim with the black the trim protectant. Actually, I take that back. I did this door and back. So I have to do the driver's side door, I have to do that, and then I have to do the front bumper and the hood. I've gone over the trim on both sides of the car, so you can kind of see the difference there. It was, you know, basically white yesterday. We're just going to disregard the orange peel on the car. We're just going to let that go. Looks better than the paint failure, but just barely. So, grab a extension cord here. All right. And this is all mostly the same, which is why I'm not really boring you with the details, but I've let this sit now overnight, so there's perceivably some dust on the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some, where is it? I'm going to use some CarPro Eraser, which is it's basically a panel wipe. There's a cleaner that Chemical Guys makes called Wipeout. Works the same, works fine. They both work fine. I think Eraser is a little bit more aggressive, meaning if you've got like some wax or something on the car that you're trying to remove, it works a little bit better for that. But in between polishing steps, they both work fine. So we'll go over this with our number 3 polish. The CarPro Eraser can work well for this step too if you're just trying to make sure that you have all of the polish off the car. A good polish removal towel does a good job. So, the same thing here. Spray it off with the eraser. Actually, that still needs stage 2. That's one of the problems with stopping for the night and not just working through the entire car. So I have to do stage 2 to that. I have to do stage 1 and 2 to the hood and the bumper because I haven't done anything on those. Remember I had that video early on where I was removing the paint and I went over the whole fender and the side of the car with what's, was a stage 1, but I haven't come back to this fender yet. So, let's get the wax applied to this section. You might have some of these difficulties too, trying to do this when you've got a job, children, responsibilities, I have all those things. So it's not easy for me to just spend 12 hours in here doing a car from start to finish. I suppose I could just leave this car in here and kind of come back to it when I have time to, but then I end up leaving my car outside, which I also don't like doing because it ends up with water spots on it from the sprinklers and dust on it from outside. So this little brush is nice for kind of these nooks and crannies. So all right. So all I really have left to do on this car is the front end. So let me bring this over here. Make sure we've got a good view of that. All right. So we'll start off with the hood, cleaning it with some eraser. Okay. So our hood's been decontaminated. You use a Chemical Guys clay bar and some clay luber on this. I remember claying the car at the beginning, but this has been sitting outside for a while, so it feels gritty. And that just could be because of the paint failure. Maybe it's never going to get not gritty, but so, oh boy, yeah, it's because of the clear coat failure. So this hood is likely still going to look like crap when I'm done. It probably needs to be repainted. It's not as bad as the roof was, but it's pretty bad. Piece of clay. And I have one of those new auto scrub sponges. I want to try that out too. So Okay, so I'm just kind of going over this lightly, and really you're just kind of feeling for where the clay grabs. So really removed quite a bit. I'm going to grab an older towel, something I don't necessarily care about ruining because I think it's going to be black after this. All right, so we've clayed our hood. I'm going to start with PC1 on a heavy cutting pad. Okay, grab my conditioner. When I'm polishing larger areas like this, I kind of like to follow the body lines. So I'll do this in 4 pieces. This will be number 1. Number 2 will be the center. 3 will be that side of the center, and 4 will be over there. Because of the state of the clear coat, there probably really isn't much for me to polish here. So I'm trying not to be too aggressive with it. Notice that I'm using the, I'll use the polishing pad conditioner a little bit more on this hood than I have on the other parts of the car. That'll cause it to not cut as much. Because it's designed to just increase the lubricity of the pad and the polish and make it it just doesn't cut as much. So the polishing pad conditioner is good if you're getting started in polishing and you're maybe worried about messing something up, haven't done it before, that kind of thing. Spread it out, a little conditioner. Okay, so one thing that you'll notice is that that pad is shot after only doing one panel. And this side is streaky. That's because the rag is getting full of paint. So we'll grab another one here. Okay. All right. Yesterday, I was doing PC2 with an orange pad. Right now, both of my orange pads are wet. Which is kind of why you should own a whole bunch of pads. I'm trying not to use all of my Rupes pads on the Mazda because I just don't want to get them all clogged up. So I'm going to use a green pad today because both of my orange pads are still wet in the sink. Green is slightly less abrasive than the orange, which is going to be good because the hood is pretty messed up anyway. So a little bit more on here. We'll do the next section. I'm putting a ton on, just like a couple little dots. I don't need a lot. Okay. For a little conditioner on here, I'll just go over these. And remember from when we started this project, PC2 is a diminishing polish, so it breaks down over time as it's worked. So adding a little bit of lube and hitting it again allows it to kind of finish out cleanly. What I'm using for lube is a polishing pad conditioner, but you can use a bunch of different things. I've seen people use waterless car wash for it before. So like if you have a like an EcoSmart RU or like an Optimum car wash or something like that, the rinseless car wash, you know, that can serve the purpose. Chemical Guys makes this polishing pad conditioner, which is kind of specifically for this purpose. I think that it works pretty well. I'm not going crazy with the machine here, with the clear coat being failed in some spots. What ends up happening is you start taking the paint off and the paint fills up the pad. And then you end up with like this mud that you just can't get off the car. It like burns the paint back into the paint. So you just want to be light, try to be removing material and not running it dry. So really, it's probably hard to see on the video, but what's happening is on my first high-speed pass, which isn't high really, I'm using number 3 out of 5, it kind of turns the polish into mud almost. You know, it's creating this like paste, and it dries out and it slowly becomes harder and harder to move, which is why I'm, you know, not doing it for very long. And then I spray the conditioner on it and I kind of run over it again, and I'm not going over it too heavy, but what ends up happening is it like removes that paste or makes it liquidy, so then I can spray the Car Pro eraser on it and the eraser pulls off everything that's left. So does the hood look good? No. No, it doesn't. Does it look better than it did when we started? Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna go to a white pad, number 1. We'll just set our number 2 there for now. Put a little bit more product on here than I wanted to, but and you'll see I'm going over it really lightly, which is why I'm not ending up with black on my pad like I did on my first one. Again, really no black. Give it a shot of the conditioner, just because I don't know how to get full. So that was something, you know, there's a little bit of polish in my pad. It's not black, so it's not, you know, pulling the paint off the car. Obviously there isn't a ton of clear coat. Normally you'd have clear that fills up the pad before anything else. So I sprayed a little bit of pad conditioner, and then I was able to just run that out, and keeps my pad from being really clogged up, and saves a little product. So I'm done with that. Clean the hood up. We get our wax applied. Okay. I could see that this didn't really end up black the way the last one did. There's a spot here, but I think that that's from when I just jammed it in there a minute ago. So it doesn't look like the rest of the car does. It's just sun-faded hood, you know, but it's way better than it was. Maybe at some point I'll repaint it, or more likely maybe get it repainted. But again, it's a $500 car, so I don't care all that much about it. This has just been kind of a fun project to, you know, really get to play with my polisher quite a bit, try some products out, try some pads, try some techniques, try using a lot of product, try using a little bit of product, see the different results, and, you know, at the end of the day, not really care, because no matter what, it's still going to look tremendously better than the way that it did when I pulled it in the garage in the first place. So I know a lot of times, like when there's polishing classes or schools or things like that, they'll get a hood from a junkyard or something, and they'll kind of work on that to keep them from ruining a car that somebody actually cares about. So this is Chemical Guy's Butter Wet Wax again. So we'll let that sit for a couple minutes. One of the things that I haven't touched on yet are the headlights. So we can work on that here just a little bit, so we can see how faded it is. So I picked up a product from Chemical Guys called Headlight Restore. Make headlights clear again. Restores cloudy, yellowed, and dull lenses. Easy rub on, rub off. So let's try this out. So we'll put this on with a 3-inch, because that'll get on the headlights a little bit better. If I had something like a Rupes Nano, a 1-inch, I'd use that instead. Just because there's details and stuff. I don't want to, the bumper's already screwed, but I don't want to burn the edges. So, put a little bit on here, and we'll polish it out. And what I'll try to do is kind of get this side and leave that side alone, and we'll see what the difference is. So what I'm looking for here is I want to remove kind of the yellow. Because if I can get the yellow to go away, then I can use softer pads to kind of remove the remaining cloudiness. You know, here we're actively moving plastic, or removing plastic, and plastic is really soft compared to your paint, so it doesn't take a lot to So we can see a pretty drastic difference. You know, I kind of created a line here, so you can see the yellow versus the white. Let me drop the camera down a little bit and get it a little closer. So, you know, if we look at it head on, it's a pretty fair difference. So what I'll do is I'll go over the rest of it with this red. I'm going to try to hit this corner again and see if I can clean that up. And that's where something like a 1-inch would really come into play. Like I'm probably going to get a Rupes Hybrid Nano. I was looking at the Flex PXE80. If I didn't already have a 3-inch, I'd probably get the Flex. But get the Flex first. All right, so for before and after, you can kind of take a look here at this light, and then we can take a look at this light and see how yellowed it is. They're both pretty similar to start, so it's a pretty big difference. It's not perfect, and you know, I'm interested to see how it holds up over time, because the usually what ends up happening is you remove the UV coating from the light. And once you do that, it just kind of always comes back. It always turns yellow again. This headlight restorer from Chemical Guys is supposed to contain UV blockers in it and provide kind of like a wax type coating. So I'm not sure how that'll work, but so what I'm doing here is I just kind of went over it again with this is a softer pad, more of like a finishing pad, kind of something that you would apply a wax with rather than something that you would use to polish. So I'm gonna let that sit for a couple minutes, and then I'm gonna just wipe it off with a normal microfiber towel, a clean microfiber, not one that's got eraser on it, and see if I can just leave a little bit behind so it can act like a wax. So while we're waiting on that to dry, we can do the wax removal on the hood, which I kind of forgot about. This butter wet wax is pretty forgiving as long as you aren't out in the sun. It can be removed for quite a while if you leave some behind. I try to be good at removing the wax. I grab my light and kind of look at it from all angles and make sure I don't miss any, but inevitably I always do. So, you know, after I wax a car, normally what I'll do is just throw a microfiber or two in the door, like in the pocket. So if I'm at in a parking lot somewhere and I'm walking to the car and I notice a spot, I'll just grab it, wipe it off really quick. So I think that came out pretty good. We'll do the same thing on this one. This one I'll probably fast forward a little bit when I edit, just so it's not eating up a bunch of time. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the stiff pad. I'm going to go over the whole thing twice, and then first pass did quite a bit. Okay, I'm just gonna let that sit on there for a couple of minutes and I'll wipe it off. Get the bumper ready. I think that did a pretty good job. I mean, they're 10 times better than they were. Are they perfect? No. You know, the only way to really get perfect headlights would be to replace them. But, you know, they might yellow again in the future. And truthfully, I don't know how big of a deal that is. If they just yellow again, then I run over them with the polish again. And when I do that, they'll end up looking like they do. And eventually they'll probably, you know, fail. They're only plastic, but I don't know. It would take me 5 minutes to just do that headlight, the 3-inch. So it's not a huge undertaking to clean it up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know that it warrants replacing headlights. I'm gonna back the camera up here and I'm just gonna finish out my bumper. My bumper needs 2 and 3 because I already did 1. All right, so the camera went dead. I wasn't quite finished with it. I finished up the bumper and the lights are done. So I'm just gonna call it a day. Pull the Mazda out, and then in my next video, I'll probably start working on the interior of it. Dive into the stereo a little bit after that. So should be, we'll clean the seats, we'll clean the dashboard and the kind of all the nooks and crannies, the cup holders, all of the gross parts of the car. Shampoo the rugs, pull all of that out, and then we'll work on the stereo. I've got replacement speakers for the doors, the front doors and back doors. I've got we'll talk about bass blockers and how to wire those in, because this aftermarket head unit that I have doesn't have a high pass and low pass filters. Eventually I might end up putting a different aftermarket head unit in and pulling the Android one out, but that really all depends on the ABS issue that I'm having still, and whether or not I'm able to get that resolved inexpensively or not, because an ABS module is, you know, $500 to $700, and it requires a dealer scan tool in order to run the bleeding procedure. So I need to figure that out. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I edited this down as far as I could.